Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, happy Friday. We've got so many great conversations lined up for you today. First and foremost, let's talk about the latest around federal protections for gender equality, how both Republicans and Democrats are trying to figure out the best way forward as we talk about equality, especially as to how it impacts women. We'll have that conversation. Also, let's talk about what's going on with the state of educational curriculum, as College Board has announced earlier this week that they plan to make some revisions to the AP African American courses. Again, we'll talk about that and how the state of Florida, i.e. Governor Ron Desantis, will respond to the changes. We'll have that discussion. Later on, we check in with my guy Scotty of Off Script TV. We talk about the first night of the NFL draft and that historic Lamar Jackson deal. We'll have that discussion. And later on, I got something for you for Trends Post and Doing the Most. So stay with us. A lot to cover on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the show. Happy Friday. Yes, the last Friday of April 2023. Folks, welcome to the show. We got a lot to talk about, so let's jump right in. First and foremost, I wanted to have a discussion around federal protections for gender equality. There is a lot of discussion about what is going to be the state of the women's movement around equality, around pay, around a whole lot of other issues. And it's still crazy, folks, that in 2023, we are still having discussions about making sure that women are protected by federal law across the board. All right, let me just share with you the latest around this situation, folks, because this seems to be an ongoing discussion. Then in a moment, we'll be checking in with Online Culture crew member Corinna Denise, who is an educator. She is also a college advisor. Get her take on the subject. All right, folks. So here's where we are. It's as the effort to revive the amendment giving women equal rights with men fails in the Senate, folks. This is the headline coming from the Griot. How Congress sent the amendment which guarantees men and women equal rights under law to the states back in 1972. Senate Republicans, they blocked a Democratic measure to revive the Equal Rights Amendment. And this is another blow, some would say, to the opportunity and to the movement of making sure that there is gender equality in this country. Now, the Democrats failed to win the necessary 60 votes, folks, to move forward with the resolution, which would have removed a 1982 deadline for state ratification and reopened the process to amend the Constitution. There was a 51-47 vote, included support from two Republicans, Maine Senators Susan Collins and Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski, well short of the 10 GOP votes needed. Now, Senate Majority Leader Mr. Chuck Schumer, he put out there, and he's the Senate Majority Leader out of New York, that he put the resolution up for a vote this week. And that he said it is especially timely in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision last year to overturn Roe v. Wade and the constitutional right to an abortion. Women in America have far fewer rights today than they did even a year ago. Of course, President Biden said that this deal needs to get done, that there needs to be an update on this amendment. He put it out there through his White House press secretary. He said that he strongly supports extending the deadline and that it's long past time. The White House said that gender equality is not only a moral issue, the full participation of women and girls across all aspects of our society is essential to our economic prosperity, our health, and the health of our democracy. All right, let me bring in my sister Corinna Denise to give us her take on this subject matter. Corinna, good afternoon. Happy Friday. How are you?
Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Peace, Farajii. Peace, crew.
Peace, peace, peace. All right, let's talk about this. 2023, we're still trying to get some things done. It seems so weird, Corinna. I'm gonna have to say this, that we're actually living in a time where just about 51 years ago there was an amendment that was put on. There was an amendment to the Constitution about equal rights for women. And now we're at this point where we're having the conversation about making sure that there's a deadline to make sure that there's federal protection. What does that say about the state of where we are in this country? And more importantly, how does this situation affect the movement for women's rights and equity?
Well, it greatly affects the movement for women's rights and equity, right? And we see
Right.
how all the rolling back of rights has been happening, most recently with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And what we're seeing what's happening in all of these states with these draconian laws that Republicans want to implement. So I'm honestly not surprised that it failed in the Senate. We have to remember that that filibuster is still in place. So Senate Democrats, although they hold a very slim majority, there's very little that they can do to move forward. So, given that they want to take away our right to making decisions about our own bodies, it's not surprising that this legislation failed in the Senate. And even Senator Schumer, majority leader, said that he put it up for a vote, but it looks like he anticipated that it was going to fail. How do we actually get these Republicans on board? Like, I don't see there being any deals to be made. They are head set and focused on what they want to do, and they're not going to proceed and move forward with anything that the majority, slim majority, that the Democrats want to do. I also want to just add quickly to that point, to kind of tie this all in. I really think there's been a laser focus with who our presidential nominee is going to be in 2024. Our incumbent, who usually runs for reelection, made his announcement earlier this week. But I say all that to say that we also have to remember that we have to give the president a majority Democratic Senate and the House. So in order for legislation to actually get passed, that's important. If those three chambers do not align, then no matter who's in the White House, we're
That's
still
true.
not going to get the legislation that we need. But yeah, Farajii, this is not surprising. This is what they do.
So, do you foresee that they're going to be able to get something done? The president is willing to move forward and have the conversation and be supportive. Do you foresee that happening um, anytime this year?
I honestly do not foresee it happening anytime this year. What deal can they possibly make to get them on board? They have blocked everything else. And really, right now, let's be honest. Again, the House Democrats lost their majority, unfortunately, even though they were the ones actually passing the legislation that we wanted. And then Senate Democrats hold a very slim majority. So the only thing the Senate could really do right now is perhaps work on the judiciary with, appointments of judges. And we see that's even being held up right now with Senator Dianne Feinstein, who's out. She's ill, refuses to resign. And now you see GOP support of her, holding her place because they want to obstruct any judicial appointments that President Biden has. So I don't see them moving forward with this legislation either. They're in agreement with the overturning of abortion rights in this country. Why would they want us to have equal rights with men? So our rights as women are drastically under attack right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like Demi Downer, but just looking at the past history and the experience, I'm not optimistic. I don't want to be pessimistic, but that's something we need to work on. We need to increase the Senate majority so that we can actually get legislation passed.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to go to Chris Big. Chris, you posted something on our chat, and folks, you can join us in a conversation on YouTube, Facebook, as we're streaming live on Black Star Network and Amazon News. Chris, you posted something which I think will have a significant impact to this conversation. And Corinne, I want to get your take on it. Chris said, gender still hasn't been legally defined, so how can laws be made? There is a very, very contentious conversation in this country about what is gender now, right? It used to be, quote unquote, man and woman. But now, of course, people have changed. They have self-identified. In some states, there are alternative classifications for what it means for gender. So folks that say it is a social construct that needs to be uprooted. So I think Chris is bringing up something very, very important. Gender has yet to be fully defined, legally defined. So how can laws be made? What's your take on that?
I think it really depends on the context in which we're defining gender nowadays, right? Because we do want to be sensitive to people and how they choose to identify themselves. So, in the biological sense, for health and science and medicine, medical purposes, perhaps there has to be that that line of whether or not it's like male or female, man or woman. But in the sense of how I identify them, that's something entirely different, and we want to be inclusive of everyone. So that can be a really fine line to thread. I have to be honest, I'm still trying to sort out and figure that out, because you want to be sensitive and include everyone. And, you don't want to exclude anyone as far as that's going. But yeah, I think that's also going to lead to some issues, because that's something else that the GOP are highly against, as far as including our transgender community and folks that identify as something that maybe they were initially born with. So that's going to be very, difficult.
It's going to be huge. We got about 30 seconds. What's your take on, where you see black women in this whole situation? Should black women lawmakers step in? We have our quote unquote revolutionary lawmakers, Representative Ayanna Pressley. We got, all types of black women in Congress. Where do you see black women fitting into this real quick, Corinna?
Well, I think black women always fit in, right? I think we're always at the front of issues, kind of like taking the lead, raising awareness and attention to what's going on. So I expect them to be there in the trenches. I wouldn't expect them to be anywhere else, but definitely, we are accustomed to kind of taking the lead in these matters, and we need to have more women of all colors, all races joining in that one big loud voice to get our point across and to get the legislation that we need and demand.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. We will definitely keep our eyes on that situation. But we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about something that Corinna is passionate about, which is education, and more importantly, the state of the curriculum coming from College Board. I'm going to share with you what the institution has to say about their take on African-American history and how one state is planning to revolt. I bet you know which state that is, folks. I know you know which state that is. Let's have that conversation up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's have a conversation about educational curriculums. And this has come up this week as College Board, the institution that's responsible for setting the curriculum for high schools and making sure that they are getting themselves prepared for their matriculation into college, the College Board will revise, according to its report, that they will revise their advanced placement course on African American studies again. Yeah, folks. They are completely aware that they have decided to water down the course study as a result of some opposition from the conservatives on the GOP side. Here's what they said in a statement. Take a look at this, folks. In embarking on this effort, access was our driving principle. Then let's go back to the previous quote real quick, Keenan. There we go. Thank you. In February, take a look. It said in February, the College Board revealed its revised curriculum for the new African American history course, eliminating the requirement that students learn about critical race theory and other modern tenets of Black history, including the works of seminal Black scholars in the entire Black Lives Matter movement that forced a national reckoning with race and equity in the U.S. They put it out there that we are committed to providing an unflinching encounter with the facts and evidence of African American history and culture. And to achieve that commitment, we must listen to the diversity of voices within the field. Now, they have been under a lot of controversy because of some conservatives are saying that certain tenets of Black history should not be taught. That it goes against what some state laws deem as being history. Let's bring back my sister Corinna Denise into this discussion. Corinna, you are at the intersection of two things. The first thing is that you are an educator. You are a college advisor. So how the fact that College Board decides to once again revise its framework, now they're going to go back to the table, have the conversations with their scholars, with all of the people that they work with, to complete and to create a more, what they like to call, a more holistic possible introduction to African American studies. And that's the big point of that. Keenan, I want to show that quote very quickly. Quote one, if we can show that, because I want to give people full context of this. This is what they said. This is what College Board put out. They said, embarking on this effort, access was our driving principle. Both access to a discipline that has not been widely available to high school students and access for as many of those students as possible. Regrettably, along the way, those dual access goals have come into conflict. The updated framework shaped by the development committee and subject matter experts from AP will ensure that those students who do take this course will get the most holistic possible introduction to African American studies. So they admit they kind of got slapped around a little bit by conservatives. And as a result of that, they decided to, because they got a little scared, they decided to water down those courses. But now they're seeing the light. They're like, wait a minute. They're finding their testicles again. They're finding their testicles and say, hey, we should include all elements of Black history into this. All right, so what does that mean for you? You work in a college setting, you work with an educator with students, but what does this mean in terms of curriculum? By them kind of going back and forth, they decided they're not going to make any other revisions. But what does that mean moving forward?
Well, here are a couple of things I want to make sure that folks are aware of when it comes to the AP and the advanced placement courses. So first of all, you'd be surprised to know not every single school offers all of the AP courses that College Board has, right? Okay. Some might have 10 courses they offer, some might have 5. I've visited high schools that might have 2. So it really just depends on where students are, what courses are actually being offered to them. So I want to put that out there. As far as the African American Studies AP course, we have to remember that it's still in the pilot, right? If you go on the College Board's website and look at the framework for the course, it pretty much lists a layout of the dates when they wanted to actually roll out the course. So they were anticipating getting it into the high schools after the pilot program had finished in the 2024-25 school year. So now I'm curious to find out, is that going to be put on pause since now they're making revisions again? But we have to ask ourselves, like, all this back and forth, at the end of the day, what is the course going to actually look like? And what is that going to mean for teachers when they're actually implementing the course? Because we know what's happening, especially specifically here in Florida. A lot of teachers are undergoing a lot of extra trainings. It's become additionally very rigorous for them in terms of all of the changes that Satan wants to make. So I can only imagine that there'll be a lot of scrutiny if the course actually ends up coming into Florida public high schools or just schools in our state particularly. But here's the thing too. While we're getting this introductory African American Studies course, Farajii, aside from all the back and forth with the governor and all of these optics and political theater that he's trying to play, I do think it's important for us to remember that, while your kids could be learning this in school, there are going to still be some loopholes. I mean, we have to be honest here, even with just our history as a people. And I think that's where parents and the village that it takes to raise our children steps in and kind of fills in the blanks. So even if all was well and good, I think in some retrospect, we still have to be doing that. I am glad to hear that College Board is kind of refocusing, but it's still kind of just be like, still kind of shaky, like all this back and forth. What is the final product going to look like? And I would imagine there's also some influence from a lot of elites behind the scenes. Money talks, a lot of people, connections, networking, power, like, hey, you need to do this. So I could imagine there's a lot of pressure, and they're trying to probably find like that medium to make both sides happy. So I really just don't know how this is gonna actually play out as far as this course. But just all this back and forth with it is really denying students an opportunity, not only to potentially take that exam at the end of the year to get college credit. For most schools, you need like a 3 or higher on the exam, but also just to have college level coursework as a high school student that also prepares you for the rigor once you enter college and what to expect. It kind of helps students have a much easier transition. So there's a lot of benefits out of taking an AP course aside from just receiving the credit as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tiana, you checked in, sis. You said the board shouldn't have yielded to the Republicans without making a full assessment of all the materials. Yeah, I mean, I think so. And Corinne, I think you would agree with that as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that College Board is supposed to prepare the next generation of young people to become proficient students, especially in the college space. And it's so political, and it speaks volumes about, again, where we are in this country, where a lot of this stuff is so political. You put just enough political pressure on the situation, and then it becomes this other thing, right? It becomes like this acquiescence and all of that stuff. And folks, I do not understand, and I can't wait until the day where we fully realize that political leadership works for us, not us working for them. That's the part I'm waiting for, Corinna.
Yeah. To your point, one of the first things I learned when I started working in public schools back in 2008 is that education pretty much is political. Everything revolves around politics. And what I mean by that is basically how they operate within the means of a school, how they go about doing things. It's very, very much a political process. And I think we have to be aware of that. And so these changes and these scare tactics and trying to change curriculum, we don't hear talk of any other course, right? As far as revising or changing the structure. I'm sure there are probably some other courses that College Board could also look into to see to reevaluate their structure, to make improvements. But there's just been this laser focus on the African American Studies course because of the basically blatant racial attacks here in Florida, because DeSantis wants to run for the presidency. So he has to do everything he can in his mind to galvanize his base.
Absolutely, absolutely. Folks, we want you to join us in the conversation. Make sure you post your comments on Facebook, on YouTube, and let's continue to have this conversation. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I'm going to share with you the other side, because your favorite governor, as you have affectionately called him, DeSantis, Ron DeSantis has now pushed back on this with this announcement coming out this week. Mr. DeSantis said, oh, is that right, College Board? You're not going to change it? So guess what? Maybe we need to have our own test.
I got a lot to say about that. Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about how the state of Florida, black folks, if you're down in Florida, y'all need to listen. The state of Florida is ready to remove itself from the College Board network and to create its own test where black history in its totality may not be taught. We'll have that conversation, and more importantly, the impact that will make on you, your children, and the culture. Stay with us. That discussion is up next on The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We have been talking about the latest coming from College Board, how they have decided earlier this week that they will not kowtow to any more political conservative pressure and will go again back to the lab, back to the table to revise its AP African American Studies course. Take a look at that. And how they said that they will include certain elements of the course that conservatives deem to be inappropriate or just not good. Elements like queer theory, black femininity, and talks about modern movements such as the Black Lives Matter movement. So College Board has said, you know what? I got my swagger back. I'm fine. We're going back to the table. We're going back to the table, bringing back African-American scholars. They're bringing back black educators and all of these folks. And over the next couple of months, they said that they will decide, they will unveil their latest curriculum that includes a holistic Black history experience. All right, now, that's on College Board side. As a result of that, folks, the state of Florida, the state of Florida, they have decided, oh, well, if you're not going to change your curriculum, maybe we need to not be a part of your network. Yep, this is coming from Governor Ron Desantis and his administration, and how they are considering leaving College Board by creating their own test, folks. Take a look at this here. Florida lawmakers now, this has been reported by Politico. Take a look, folks. Florida lawmakers are planning ways for the state to create its own high-level courses and exams on the heels of a scrap between the Desantis administration and the College Board over its African American Studies AP program. During budget negotiations this week, the legislature agreed to spend a combined $2.8 million developing a homegrown program to rival the rigorous and nationally recognized AP courses students can take for college credit. What? Look at him. There he is. Governor Ron DeSantis. Let's bring in Corinna Denise, culture crew member, advisor, college advisor, and educator to get her. Oh, let me throw in a resident of Florida.
Thanks for rubbing it in.
Resident of Florida. No, this is really interesting. This is, yes. Are we in Florida? Yes, we
You don't have to move here, but
look,
just
I'm laughing.
keep us in prayer, okay, please.
No. I'm laughing at this moment, but trust me, this laughing is about to turn to crying because this is a real serious situation we're talking about. Here is a guy and his administration in a state that is hell-bent on leading the culture war against Black history, Black thought, anything that's related to Black thinking and Black empowerment. The Black conscious movement in the state of Florida. Black folks, I want y'all to be for real, for real. I know Black folks love the sea. We love the beaches. We love the warm weather. We love the palm trees. I get all that, okay? I live in one of them states too. But trust and believe, there is a homegrown revolution that's emerging in Florida where they do not want to acknowledge the contributions of Black folks. And I think Black people, especially in Florida, folks, we gotta figure something out here, Corinna. The man is talking about creating his own homegrown test. Now, College Board is a nationally, like I mentioned, nationally recognized set of curriculum where you can go to any school, they will say yes. Are we putting ourselves in a deficit, or is the state of Florida putting Black students, brown students, and even white students at a deficit? Where if you're getting a homegrown test of Black history, that's even going to be acceptable to colleges. Are you doing more harm than good? Not only are you not teaching Black students, white students, brown, Latino students about the holistic Black experience, but then you're going to do us in some bootleg way. And then say like, okay, this is acceptable in the state of Florida, but it may be a test that's not acceptable in any other state in the country.
Right.
What do we do with that?
So where do I begin? So here are a little bit of like FYIs. I think it's important for our audience to know about the College Board, right? I think most people are familiar with College Board administering, of course, like the AP courses and the AP exams, advanced placement. That's what AP stands for. And then also the SAT, the Scholastic Aptitude Tests, which many colleges all around the country, and we have over about 5,300 colleges in the whole United States, okay, that accepts SAT scores. It's a college entrance exam to see if students are college ready in English, reading, math, and sometimes science, depending on what test they're taking. In addition to that, a lot of our students qualify for fee waivers. A lot of our students who are either in a free or reduced lunch program, that's usually the main qualification. And College Board actually provides up to 2 fee waivers to take 2 SAT exams at no charge. And in addition to that, they provide fee waivers for students and their college applications, right? We know college applications can be very expensive. Now, some schools do a courtesy of waiving the fee, but some schools charge like maybe $50 for even an application. Okay, so if we do away with that, we're also taking away the access to those fee waiver programs for those students, okay?
Right.
Additionally, the exam, particularly that DeSantis is looking into replacing and eliminating the SAT, and there's even talk of eliminating the ACT, which I don't even know why that comes into play because they're an entirely separate organization from the College Board, okay? It's the CLT, which is the Classical Learning Test. Upon my research, I see that this exam was developed in 2015 by a man named Jeremy Tate. It's currently being implemented. Only 200 colleges, okay, 200 colleges out of the 5,300 plus that are in the entire country are currently accepting those scores. So if this was being presented as an alternative method, which is, according to the founder, is why he created the exam, an alternative method to the SAT or ACT for students to send those scores to colleges, the 200 that accept them, then I can see. But this definitely cannot be a replacement, Farajii. Florida has 12 public state universities, right? Aside from, our smaller four-year colleges, some years ago, a lot of our community colleges turned into four-year colleges because they were now providing like bachelor's programs, so on and so forth. So basically, my point is, with the classical learning test, it kind of limits students to just those 200 colleges. We're not even being inclusive of our own in Florida. So I'm wondering, what is the plan, especially that this GOP majority legislature has? Are they going to barter and make a deal with our public universities to accept the CLT? Okay. And then what about, a lot of students are applying for like merit-based scholarships. A lot of schools automatically consider students for those awards, and SAT plays a very big factor. Some students might apply, they get accepted with the scores they have, but a lot of times they like to retest. They're still in the admission cycle, so they can be reconsidered for maybe a merit-based scholarship they're trying to achieve. My last point I want to make, why this would be very detrimental, is there is an additional financial aid application called the CSS profile provided by the College Board. Now, I know a lot of us are probably familiar with FAFSA, the free application for student aid. But with the CSS profile, a lot of highly selective colleges around the country use that additional aid application. It looks more in depth as opposed to the FAFSA to really assess a student's financial need in its entirety, right? So that the school can provide additional aid and scholarships. Back to my point earlier about the fee waivers. A student who has received a fee waiver to take the SAT also gets their fee waived for the CSS profile. So if a student wants to go somewhere in the Northeast region, right, that school potentially may not accept the CLT scores. They'll have to come out of pocket for a CSS profile. So this can be very detrimental. These tests are costly. I'm not reading anywhere where the district is actually willing to pay. And there was a misquote in that political article about this concerning Desantis, saying that the state already pays for like the SAT and ACT for kids. And no, they do not. A majority of our kids are eligible for the fee waivers because a lot of them have free or reduced lunch. But we do have a great number of students who are paying for those tests out of pocket. So CLT might provide some fee waivers to take the exam, but I don't see anywhere on the website right now, Farajii, where they're going to provide any financial assistance for, financial aid applications, college application fees, which can be really expensive. So this is not good for Florida.
No, this is not good at all. I'm so happy that you are a part of this discussion to break it down for us the way you did, to give us some context on this. Very quickly, Willie, you checked it in and said, being a resident here in Florida, we must take note and make sure none of them get back into office once the children suffer not being able to leave the state to go to college. Change will come. Change will come. I'm with you on that one, Brother Willie. Absolutely. McCall, you checked in. You said the Florida governor needs to remember that adult students and their families pay money to go to college. He needs to stop with the shenanigans. People may start to leave the state of Florida for college. That's real. That's very, very real. And I see that possibly happening. Look, it's a culture war that Desantis is waging here, folks. Yes. It's a culture war. And again, y'all heard me say this before, but I'm going to drive this point home. Look, if we're going to move into these Confederate states, if we're going to work in these places, we have to become more politically involved. Because some of these places are, I mean, you said it earlier, Corinna, you talked about how draconian some of these laws are and their policies are. Like, you can't just move into a place and then not get involved or not at least be informed of what's going on, because all of these decisions, state decisions, play a much greater role in a lot of these cases, especially when you talk about education, than federal government decisions. It's the state that dictates what colleges and what they can and cannot cover in their curriculums. It's the state, folks. All right, let me go to let me take one more before we take our next pause. Someone talked about him versus the mouse. Oh, Tiana, you said DeSantis' arms are too damn short. He's fighting with Disney and the College Board. He going look.
You know what?
He's fighting a $1 billion mouse.
Yes. And you know what's so crazy? It's like he spends time to retaliate. I haven't really seen that. I hate to compare them with Donald Trump, right? It's kind of like Trump is like, I don't give a damn. I passed this and this is what it is. You can complain all you want. But DeSantis, he's so whiny. Like he wants everyone to like what he does. And if you refute, it's like, I'm gonna get you. So it's like he's expending energy to like retaliate, right? Which in turn is just gonna hurt us. Disney has been here forever. Like it's not
100 years, Corinna.
move.
They celebrating the 100-year anniversary this year.
Right.
So he can go against it. I was reading the New York Times very quickly. I was reading a New York Times piece just the other day, and it was talking about how there have been attempts to try to change the content, trying to move Disney, try to at least make a dent in their revenue. Never worked. Mm-hmm. Disney is just one of those companies where if you're going against Disney, good luck. Have a lot of money, because guess what? You're not making a dent. That's how much of a cultural institution as well as a business Disney has become over these past 100 years. And so it's going to be interesting to see that. Folks, I got to take another pause. When we come forward, more conversation about Governor DeSantis' efforts and against College Board and so much more. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking about Governor Ron DeSantis' efforts to possibly consider taking the state out of the AP, out of the College Board network and creating their own tests because of their dissatisfaction with how College Board will be presenting Black history. The governor has been at war with College Board for a few months now. He was able to put some political pressure on them to cause them to edit some of their curriculum, but because this week College Board has announced that they will be including elements into their Black History AP Black History courses, that certain elements that the governor does not agree with, and so the governor is pushing back and saying, look, we may be looking at creating our own homegrown tests to deal with this issue. A cultural war indeed, folks, is being waged between the state of Florida and College Board. And the governor, he is not one to be immune or is not one to not be in any controversy. So we will see how the situation goes. Very quickly, I want to bring Corinna back in because Janelle checked in and said, this info that Corinna has provided is important, and lily white political consultants are skilled at putting stuff on TV and sending out mail that won't get into the weeds for our future, like Queen Corinna Denise just did. Absolutely. Absolutely, Janelle. Thank you. I think she appreciates that. Willie, you said, as the minister said last night, we've gotten comfortable. The day will come when they push too far and awaken a sleeping menace. I'm looking for that day.
It needs to happen like yesterday.
Willie!
Everyone needs to be pissed off. Okay, because now you're messing up these kids' education.
I'm telling you, look. Let's keep it a buck, right? As they say, let's keep it a rack. Let's keep it however you want to say it. When they start messing with our children's education, is this not what's the word I'm going to look for, Corinna? Is this not drawing a line in the sand? I mean, seriously, when we start thinking about, imagine if other states were to follow the lead of what Ron DeSantis and his administration in Florida is doing. Imagine that happens in Georgia. Imagine if that happens in Louisiana. Imagine that happens in Texas, right? Places that Black folks are residing in. Again, I shared this with y'all before. 56%, nearly 60% of Black people in this country live in the Confederate States, live in the South. So imagine that. If other states say, you know what, we're going to start creating our own tests. Look, let me tell y'all, the moment that these states start to break away from national programs, national networks, we are going down a slippery slope in this country where we're going to see more type of in-state fighting. Yeah. Or states that may be going against its own federal structure.
And Farajii, if I may, I just want to add on a little bit more history about what's going on here in Florida, particularly to our testing. So some years ago, back in around, I believe it was like 1998, I was in 8th grade at the time, Florida came up with a test called the FCAT. That was the Florida Comprehensive Assessment Test. And it's what students starting in grades 3rd through 10th grade would take each and every year. When you took it in 10th grade, that would be a determining factor as to whether or not you successfully completed high school, right? In addition to all of your other coursework and whatnot. The FCAT was such a fail. I remember being in 8th grade and we were like, we're in pre-algebra and there's trigonometry on here, stuff that we didn't even learn. Moving forward, it was such an issue with this exam. Teachers with PhDs were taking it, failing the science section. It was a mess. So many students were failing the exam. So many discrepancies with this test. And my high school class of 2002, we were actually the last class that was allowed to sit for what's called the high school competency test here in Florida. They were getting ready to phase it out and replace it with FCAT altogether. I failed my FCAT at the time, like so many of my other friends, and we passed HSCT with flying colors. Fast forward to 2008, now I'm working in Broward County Public Schools. The requirements for the FCAT were significantly lower. So I would have passed my FCAT with those standards, right? So they had to do all these things to kind of manipulate the test. Then they started bringing in the SAT and the ACT as a substitute. Well, you're not passing FCAT, take this test, you can pass. But the students are taking the test, they're passing to get their diploma, but then they're still not college ready to get into school. So I really have some discrepancies with Florida creating their own tests just from that historical standpoint, Farajii.
Yeah.
As far as that historical background. So when DeSantis is touting these homegrown tests, it's like, what does that really look like? And yes, to your point, states could definitely follow suit. We have seen the pattern where one state is doing something, then the next one is following. It seems like last year, Texas was setting the blueprint. Now this year, 2023, the Florida, we've become ground zero for the blueprint. Like who's going to be next, right? And it's just this perpetual cycle. So I say all that to say with testing here in Florida, as an educator who's worked here in Florida public schools, you know, I do raise a lot of red flags and concerns just based on past experiences. FCAT has phased out since 2014 and has been replaced by some other standardized testing. But this classical learning test, trying to replace College Board will be detrimental because again, it's going to affect all of those financial opportunities that the organization provides to students. It can be very expensive, and I certainly don't hear talks about that. And guess why? Because for their elite group, it's easy for them to write the check for their kids' college application and send it off or whatnot, or to pay their registration for their SAT, right? You know, a lot of schools want to have, well, a lot of students rather want to have the luxury to test in their school. You know, I used to facilitate a lot of SAT school days where students could take the SAT during a school weekday at school rather than having to sign up and go to an assigned testing center. So there are going to be a lot of factors here, Farajii, that can greatly, you know, mess up the dynamic of having to switch to a test that won't be widely accepted. They're going to have to pay out of pocket. It's going to limit them to where they can go. Okay. You know, financial aid plays a major factor because the ticket price of a school doesn't determine whether or not you can afford it. At the end of the day, it's what that school has to offer you, whether it's in your home state or out of state or somewhere else. So it's going to really, really limit kids and change their college list or where they're going to be applying. And a lot of pressure is going to be weighed heavily on those guidance counselors, college counselors, and advisors because of all of these changes. It could really, really be detrimental, and I really don't want to see it happen.
No, we don't want to see it happen. And even more so, Corinna, I'm thinking about who is going to carry the brunt or who's going to feel the brunt of these changes. And you can't say it, folks. It's going to be Black students.
Yeah.
And it's going to be students from Hispanic and Latino communities.
And they are a majority of our first generation college students.
Yeah.
Okay. And majority of those students are also in our free reduced lunch programs who would qualify for those waivers.
And guess what? Same thing here in LA, when you have a huge number of Latino, Hispanic students, right, in the public school systems. So we're looking at a situation, folks, and when we talk about structural racism or systemic racism, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what's being spoken of. The fact that you can put certain things in place where it doesn't look like racism on the outside. It's like, oh, we're changing the test. But it does put students or folks or communities that have historically been marginalized, it puts us at a further disadvantage because the way the test is set up by the fact that now you got homegrown tests. What is that going to mean for Black students that are trying to get into Ivy League schools or schools that require, you know, a certain that requires a certain standard to be met? All of these things will put Black people, Black students, the future of Black America at a disadvantage. Now, people might jump and say, "Oh man, that's like, you know, you're moving too fast, too far." Not really, not really, because it only starts with one thing, a simple thing like this, and then a domino effect creates where you start creating another system of oppression for Black and brown students. All right, Corinna, we got 30 seconds. What's your take?
And I was just going to add to that, Farajii, that yes, our students are going to be the ones who are affected most. And this is why they're okay with moving forward with these kinds of things, right? Because even though it might affect a few of their kind, they're willing to make that sacrifice for what they deem to be the greater good. And we would be the ones who are going to be most adversely affected if these changes go through. So this is not good in any way, shape, or form. It provides so many limitations to our students. And I would implore everybody watching, you know, just go online and look up classical learning tests and look at, you know, the practice tests and see the information that's on there. Like, you're going to be like, what the hell is this compared to the SAT or the ACT? Yeah, this is not good.
Absolutely. And folks, we're certainly going to keep our eyes on this. All right, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears again. Let's get into the NFL draft. The first night happened, and there was some big conversations about who was drafted, and of course, that historic Lamar Jackson deal. We'll be checking in with my guy Scotty from Off Script TV, got my sister Corinna, and of course, I still got you. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in, being a part of the conversation. First and foremost, if you've been enjoying the conversation, make sure you support us here at Black Star Network. We would love to continue to do the great work that we've been on for the past couple of years as we are moving forward So your support, everything matters to us here at the Black Star Network. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. We're streaming right now on blackstarnetwork.com, on Amazon News, and on all social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram. So we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Okay, let's talk about sports. It's a big night in the NFL. The big draft kicked off yesterday. Day number 2 kicks off today. And some people were to go and say that last night, might have been a quarterback draft more than anything. Of course, along with the draft, there was the big historic news of Lamar Jackson getting his deal with the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to bring my brother Scotty, our sports contributor. You can check him out at Offscript TV on YouTube and on Instagram. Scotty, good to talk to you, sir.
What's up, man? What's going on, dog?
All right, let me do this. I'm gonna do this first.
We are not.
No, we ain't doing this right now. I'm gonna do this first. We're gonna bring my sister Corinna in a moment, but take a look. Let's talk about the draft. People are very excited about this draft.
That's what we doing. That's what
I just want to do just for news purposes. I do really want to get your take on this because they said that this was a historic first night of drafts because of you had three black quarterbacks that were at the top of the heap right there. Talk to us about what this actually means in the big scheme of things. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson were among the top 4 picks Thursday night. Are we looking at, was last night more of a quarterback draft, or was this a sign of something to come? What do you make of that, bro?
Well, it's a sign of something to come. I mean, listen, man, when the NFL gives you the stamp of approval the way they just did with 3 black quarterbacks, and Anthony Richardson being Anthony Richardson, to me, outside of Bryce and CJ, you knew they were like legit. Anthony is more of the wild card because he's so raw, right? So they literally said, hey, we will take a chance on a guy that has super upside, super raw. You know, he's the Lamborghini that's in the garage, but we just got to get the tires on it. You know, we get the right tires on it and we get the right, we get the right person driving it. Hey, this thing could be really nice. So they would rather do that than go with the typical white boy who can throw it, but just had a kind of up and down season. And that's not usually how the draft would have played out. They would have did what Lamar had to go through, was where he dropped to the bottom of the round and the Ravens jumped back up and got him. And Will Levis would have went to the Colts because they were like, he's more the traditional type. We can deal with him. But it's a change of culture, man. It's a changing of the guard. And black quarterbacks and the mobility of black quarterbacks are the new thing, and you're going to see this run very often in the NFL draft coming up so pretty soon.
So this is and for those who may not be aware of, Scotty, like when you're talking about draft, this is just simply meaning that these college guys, they get the opportunity, the teams vie for them to come on. Is it official? Because I've seen certain situations like you can be drafted to one team, but then you can be let go, and then So how does that work?
So a good example is the Washington Chase. I think his name is. He's from Maryland. He went to the math. He's a DN that came from Ohio State. He was picked in the top. I think he was picked in like top 8. He was a top 8 pick, and they have the thing called a 5th-year option. And that's when you're really good, they pick up your 5th-year option. And that's why that's why the Ravens jump back up to get Lamar in the first round, because only first-round draft picks are allowed to have a 5th-year option. Every other draft pick only gets a 4-year option. Chase Young. Thank you so much, Joel. Chase Young. So everybody else is only allowed a 4-year option. That's why Jalen Hurts' contract was important to get done, because he doesn't have a 5th-year option. You would have had the franchise tag him, right? The 5th option is just like a 1-year opt to see if it works out, and then you get that extra year, and then if you need the franchise tag him or things like that. So that's why you get who you really want in the first round, because it gives you that 5th-year option. If he doesn't pan out, you get 1 more year to see if it works.
So what's the expectation? What's the proper expectation? Because my understanding is that you could be drafted, but you got these 32 NFL teams, and they're so they still have more veteran, more experienced quarterbacks on their roster. So when do you think that we might see a C.J. Stroud or a Bryce Young or even Anthony even get onto the field to show their skill set? I mean, is that a 1 year type of thing?
Right now.
How does that go?
It's right now. Unless you're sitting behind, if you're Patrick Mahomes sitting behind a Alex Smith, if you're Aaron Rodgers sitting behind a Brett Favre, if you're Cam Newton sitting, I think he had maybe Jake Delhomme at that time. If it wasn't Jake Delhomme, it was some other quarterback he had to sit. And then he actually overtook him in training camp. So it's usually, if you're not sitting behind a Peyton Manning or something, if you're not sitting behind an established quarterback, and 9 times out of 10, those teams are sitting lower in the draft because they have quarterback play, you're starting right now. Like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, they are day one starters. That's why I drafted you. Anthony Richardson is a day one starter. You might not agree with it, you might not like it, but they are trying to do everything possible to get that kid ready for day one for the Indianapolis Colts. And if they don't, they're probably going to get a veteran for a year just to kind of buy him some time, and then he's going to be the next year starter. But Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are day ones. They are coming. Listen, Houston Texans and the Carolina Panthers, those are your starting quarterbacks.
Wow. Bryce Young, one of the things they say about him is that he's young, but he's slender and dynamic. And the concern around him particularly is, can his body withstand the hits that come in from these players, so especially some of these veteran defensive linemen. What's your take on that?
I wasn't a fan of Bryce Young. I thought CJ Stroud was the better. Listen, man, I'm not betting on guys under 6 foot. That just don't make sense to me. There's a long lineage of guys other than Doug Flutie and Drew Brees and Kyler Murray's, if you want, you know what I'm saying, that they struggle with height. If you're not tall, you struggle. So I just don't want to bet on that you're the outlier. I don't believe it. Now, Bryce Young is I think CJ Stroud's a dog, and I love. He showed me everything I need to see during the playoff run that they made with Ohio State. I do think Bryce Young is in the benefit. I talked to some guys from the Panthers independent podcast, real good with him. He says this is probably the best offensive line a rookie quarterback has had coming into the Panthers. So Bryce Young should be protected.
Absolutely. Folks, we want you to join us in the conversation as I got my guy, sports contributor Scotty from Offscript TV, to share his take on what has happened in the first round of draft night. And it was a particularly interesting round. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue to have the conversation, bring my sister Corinna Denise into it, because we got to talk about another conversation.
Sure do. Yes, we do.
Now, wait till I got something for this brother, y'all.
I got something for you too.
I got something for this brother. So we'll have that conversation about Lamar Jackson, historic deal with the Baltimore Ravens. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Lamar Jackson.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Now, many people have been wondering what's going on with the Lamar Jackson controversy. And Lamar Jackson, it was revealed that he has finally was able to broker a deal, a 5-year, $260 million deal, where it was $185 million guaranteed. So the contract extension, which the deadline was for, it was yesterday. Lamar and the Ravens was able to bring it, to come to some agreement. But I still feel like there's still some bad blood. Now, let me bring my brother Scotty into the conversation. Because Scotty seems to think, he seems to think that I need to eat something. Right, Scotty? You really, you know what I'm saying? I'm putting my plate down here, folks.
Oh, yeah, serve it up. So, get it. Hey, get it, spin that.
Here's my foot. Now, Scotty tends to think that I need to eat my food. Now, here's the thing, folks. I'm not hungry. And here's why. Was the stance that Lamar Jackson took a stance to be the highest paid player in the NFL, or was it to have a fully guaranteed contract? Where's my utensils? Scotty, can you help me to answer that question? Was he trying to be the highest paid player in the NFL, or did he want a fully guaranteed contract that he did not get?
Can you spin that for me, Keenan? Can you let the tape roll, please?
Go ahead. Decorated MVP quarterback, right? Who decided to go into his contract negotiations with no agent, right? I think he's getting some advice from his mom and probably some other family members.
Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's
not saying that. Hey, look, mom could be at the table, but not at the table. He's struggling right now. Right. I said this on my social media, on my Facebook page. When I heard the Jalen Hurts deal was done, I knew it blew Lamar Jackson's ability to broker that type of deal for himself. It just totally it did. Jalen Hurts hurt Lamar.
Jalen Hurts hurt Lamar.
Hold on, bro. Hold on. All I'm gonna say is no, because I don't want the people to misunderstand me. As I'm throwing shade on it. Lamar Jackson's one of my top quarterbacks. Baltimore Ravens is my favorite team. It's my favorite team. But on this one, I think, bro, he played himself. Bro.
He played himself, bro.
He played himself.
He played himself.
Yes, it was. Hey, first thing, I don't like you colluding with my team. You colluded with my team. We're going to deal with that offline. You colluded with my team to bring my words back into play.
See, I need the audience to understand. See, a lot of people, and I know you have a lot of regulars. I know you got a lot of regulars, but see, but sometimes you have so many shows they can't recall everything.
Hey, look, let me tell you something. No. I stick by my stance. Now, look, I find the conversation, Scotty, was never about whether he was going to get a contract. Let me ask you this question: didn't the Ravens offer him something nice prior to the beginning of last season?
It was nice. It wasn't what it is now, but it was nice.
And no, it was what, 250, 175, if I believe the numbers. And then I saw Ian Rappaport and a couple of other NFL insiders say that the 175 is actually worth close to 200 million guaranteed. Is that fact?
I believe so.
Okay. He got 185. He got $10 million more on the guaranteed side, $10 million more on the overall deal. But that was never the question. The question was fully guaranteed. If he wanted Deshaun Watson's money, he's $45 million short of a $230 million take. That was my only thing. It was not about him not getting paid. People, oh man, you're talking about us not getting paid. No, but that wasn't his stance. His stance was, I want fully guaranteed. The Ravens, he had to come to a compromise, right? He had to come to a compromise because what, Scotty? He didn't have no other team offers. He still wants to play. He didn't want to play for the $32 million that they were going to pay him because he under the non-exclusive franchise tag. So he went back to the table and he compromised. Now, the Ravens paid him because why? How many picks they got in this year's draft?
I'm not a Ravens fan, so I don't care.
I think they got up to 5 picks.
That ain't got nothing to do with Lamar Jackson. But continue.
No, but my point is they didn't want to look for another quarterback, bro.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. Like, we talking about guaranteed money. I think his guaranteed money stance was not accomplished. I don't think he accomplished that goal. That's just me. Y'all crew, y'all tell me, Scotty, you got the platform. You colluded with my team to create that video. So go ahead, brother.
So this is how I see it, because it's an old song said, "Let me count the ways. Let me count the L's." Okay, let me just count the L's. One, you said his mama should not have been doing the deal, and reports are showing that he gave his mama the agent fee, which was $7.8 million. Shout out to mama. We just gonna do that one. That's all.
Okay, all right. You should give mommy a 7.8. She took your ass to the games when you were a little boy.
I'll let you know. You said mama shouldn't be at the table.
I said mama shouldn't be at the table, but not at the table.
But did I? Because I cut it close. You said the lawyer and the agent need to be close. I cut that off, but I can always go back and I got the clips. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I will agree with you. I think the guaranteed he had to come off that mountain. But you said, hold up, I got the clips, my brother. You said he's not worth 260. You said it. I got the clip to
Hey, look, check this out. Check this out. Again. The fact that he got 260 is because he already has a relationship with the Ravens.
All I want to do is finish my points. That's all I want.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying. Do you think he would have got 260 from another team?
Can I just finish my points? And
go ahead, brother.
That's number two. Okay, that's 2 L's. Round them up. Number three, as in the video showed with evidence, Jalen Hurts hurt Lamar Jackson. Now, it couldn't be more.
Now, that I was wrong. I will say that. That's a good point. That is an excellent point. Okay, I was wrong on that. I was wrong on that. But here, look, I will admit, I thought it was going to hurt. I was wrong. Okay, folks. Keenan, make sure you and Scotty can take that part of the conversation. I was wrong about that element of the conversation. However, I think the Ravens set up a dangerous precedent by making this historic deal with Lamar, because if Lamar doesn't show himself to be worthy of this type of money, given you got 2 black quarterbacks, Mahomes and Hurts, who have been to the Super Bowl. Mahomes been there 3 times. He's been in the league for 5 years, been to the Super Bowl 3 times, and he's won 2 rings. And he's getting less money than Lamar Jackson, who has never been to an AFC championship.
Oh, man, my young grasshopper. You bring me on here to teach you sports, and then yet you defile me.
I'm just trying to understand, bro.
That's not how the NFL works, and that's not how you get paid. You don't get paid on your future. You get paid on your past. You get paid on your resume. Now, I hope you do better in the future, but I have to pay you off your resume. And his resume says, I am more and worthy of Jalen Hurts. Now, and it is funny to me, okay, because I feel the Holy Spirit moving. It's funny to me that when you had Suzette on here, and I said, Suzette, it's funny to me that they're setting a precedence. Okay, now they're setting a precedence, and I said, it's real funny. You was like, oh, Nicole Lynn. I said, what does she deserve? All they're going to do is do what? I said, they're going to add a little money. And next thing you know, somebody else is going to be the highest paid quarterback or person in the NFL like that. It's not that special. And everybody was up in arms. Oh,
hey, Scotty, I have to admit, brother, when I saw that highest paid thing going all across social media, I thought of you. Real talk. Because then I started to say, see, this takes away from the real conversation. Now we're talking about Lamar getting money. That wasn't the case. That was not the case, bro. You said that. You said highest paid doesn't mean nothing. Tom Brady, never been the highest paid quarterback, got 7 rings. I don't care what nobody say about that's not the nature of the business and everything. Nobody goes into the NFL without having a ring. No football player. No NBA player goes to the NBA and not want to go to the big dance and not have a ring.
Absolutely.
What's the point?
I get what you're saying, right? But it's still a business, right?
I get that point.
And
I get that point.
And
Drew Brees, like you could go through all of the top quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, whoever the case may be, those guys want rings. Their money is going to come.
Cam Newton didn't win a ring.
No, but he got to the big dance at a very young age.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? But it's
no,
like,
I'm saying he's still throwing in. That's what I'm saying. All of them. Any quarterback wants to go to the Super Bowl. Yes, Lamar said that 5 years ago on his draft night. I'm going to the Super Bowl. I'm going to the Super Bowl. Okay.
I'm just saying there's a lot of good quarterbacks or great, good, however you want to dictate it. Now, you're in the upper echelon? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, this is still a business, and you have to pay for my value. You have to pay for what I've done for you. Because I love what Giannis said after he lost. He said, it's not a success and failure. He said, sports is learning lessons as it grows. He said, when every year, if you don't get a promotion at your job, do you consider that a failure? He said, no, you live and learn and you move forward. That's how somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. That's just how it goes. You know what I'm saying? So for me, all I was saying from the beginning is his resume dictated him getting top dollar money. That's what I've been saying from now. If you made it guaranteed or not, that's the compromise. But he was going to get paid, and you kept saying he played himself.
I'd say no. I kept saying I don't think he should get paid top dollar, not more than with the 2 quarterbacks. That's my personal opinion. I don't think he should get paid to that. But because, as you mentioned, this is a business, and I keep that in my mind, you're going to, if you can get paid top dollar, and even though you may not have the same resume as other quarterbacks or other people in your profession, if you can negotiate it, by all means, negotiate it.
Let me
but
talk.
Now you got to prove and you got to justify the big payment.
Well,
if he comes out this year and he happens to go through a situation that he saw with this past season where he missed half of the season, or he doesn't take the Ravens to the second round of the playoff or to the AFC Championship, let me tell you how Baltimore is going to look at that situation. Man, we paid that man all that money and he lost.
That's the nature of the business. That's the nature of the business. It's either going to somebody got to lose the Super Bowl.
And here's the thing. And you're right. No, that's fine. I'm not talking about losing the Super Bowl. I'm talking about not getting there at all. I ain't talking about somebody got to win and lose. That's the nature of games. But I'm saying if you don't get there at all, here's the thing. The other thing is that it comes across as being entitled. Like, I get it, Lamar. You're fine. All right. But come on, bro.
Listen, man. Let me talk to the people out there in the crew. Let me.
All right, talk to the crew. We got like 30 seconds. Go ahead.
All you're hearing right now is the fan come out. And every time I would jump on here and say, and he goes on this big soliloquy of all these things, I say, listen, he is a fan talking. You know, any other time you hear Farajii, he's breaking it down, But when you talk about the Ravens, it's all fan. It's all.
Of course, a fan. I'm not in the front office, bro. We all fans.
It's emotion. It's all.
Oh my gosh. Come on, Scotty.
It don't make no sense how you talking about your man. It's emotion. Go ahead and do your break thing, man. We'll be back.
All right, look, I got to go to break. When we come back, more with Scotty, bring back Corinna, and hopefully my crew will stay tuned. Stay with me, folks. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all. All momentum we have now We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Farajii Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Got my guy, Scotty from Off Script TV. Got my sister, Corinna Denise, who's been laughing hysterically at the antics of Scotty and him going behind my back to my production team to make me look terrible on my own show.
It was your clip.
Thank you for opening Pandora's box, Scotty. Now I'm probably happy. Remember this show back on August 1st, 2000? All to prove.
Very entertaining.
Oh my gosh, Corinna. I don't want to talk to Scotty right now.
Oh.
I guess it's a foul on the play. It's a foul, hold up flag on the play. Y'all colluded. That's how I'm going to see it for the rest of the season. Y'all colluded. You and Scotty.
Wait, I'm not involved in this. I'm not involved in it.
Corinna, what's your take on this? Do you have any take on this?
I am not even going to pretend that this is my area of expertise. Okay.
Gotcha.
You can pass it.
I'm going to leave it to Scotty to do what he does. And Scotty, that was quite entertaining. I'm sorry, Farajii. Love you, bro, but
it's okay. It's all right. It's cool. It's cool. I got you, Corinna. I appreciate you. Thank you for your service today.
Go ahead, pass that baton my way. Go ahead.
She passed the baton. I'm gonna bring her back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere, Corinna. All right, let me get your take on it very quickly, though, Scotty.
Whoa! It's my turn.
No, I'm saying I want to get your take. I'm giving you the ball. Like she passed it. You see how the screen is made. She's over here. I'm passing it to you, brother.
All right.
I don't want people to be like, well, look at him. He is spiteful host. No, I'm gonna pass the hate. I'm gonna pass it. Let me take my shoe and just pass it.
Yeah. Let me get it. Yeah, let me get some of that.
Go ahead, Scotty.
Thank you. Can I get the center key? Can I get the center? Because as the break was going on, the Holy Spirit was talking to me. And it said the last. It said the last shall be first. And the first shall be last. And in the good book in the Bible, it says that I will prepare a table, oh Lord, in front of thy enemies. I will anoint thee. Oh boy, Lamar is winning. Okay, his mama is winning. The Jackson family, and we're not talking about Michael, is winning. It is a great day to be a Jackson, okay? It is a great day to be a Jackson. So what we just need you to do, I don't understand how a fan of the team could be so spiteful. It's
not spite. I just don't think look, I could be a fan, and I think that this is the problem with fandom in this country. We as fans, people expect you to just go along to get along. I don't think the best fans are those who are the most critical. I'm going to say that again. Even if you love the show, y'all can be critical of me because that's how much you love the show, that you want to see certain things different and all of that. If I just went along to get along, then I would not be a good fan.
You're not a good fan. I just want to let you know you're not a good fan. Because at the end of the day, if you couldn't see what Lamar had done for you all that deserved that.
Lamar wanted to be traded.
Because you didn't want to pay him.
And guess what? No one else did too.
Because nobody wanted to put their money in escrow to be held back, and then the Ravens come up and match whatever offer. Now my money is in escrow. Now I can't use it for any other free agent. That's how that works.
Got you.
So if he's a true free agent and he's not a restricted, right? So it's like it's a little different. So I can offer him something and he can just choose to come my way. But with the restriction on it is that the Ravens get an opportunity to match it. So it's like, yo, if I'm another team and I want Lamar, if I give you 240, the Ravens are gonna be like, we'll give you 245. It's like the Price is Right. I hate that person on Price is Right who do that. Don't you hate that last person? Like, oh, I know I got this right. 901. Like, you mother. I swear to God.
I like the person that be like $12.99.
Yeah. 1,300, Bob. You like, bro?
That 1 cent will get you a car.
No, I can't stand numbers on Prices Right when they do that. I swear. See, I'll be about to fight. Come up with your own price, bro. Yeah. That was fast. That was fast.
You're killing me today, buddy. You're killing me. Hey, no, but all right. So check this out. Here's the final point on this, very quickly, real talk, Scotty. Because there was a piece I was reading about earlier this morning. They said that this is setting the precedence. We had the conversation about the no agent thing, and even you, if y'all go back to that show, even Scotty admitted that, going to the table with certain people around you, you know what I'm saying, will get you a little bit further along in your situation. My concern is, what is the big lesson that we need to kind of take from now that we're at this part of the process? Like, should we be hyping up the fact that Lamar had no agent? Like, for real. Like, I know he got his mom, he's going to pay her the fee and the whole nine. But I'm saying, like, for the next generation of black athletes, CJ Young, Bryce, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, these guys need to have agents because you're still going into a very contentious thing about your future, your worth, your value. How does that fit in now that even though he was able to get this massive deal, I still feel a little concerned that protecting the interests of future black athletes may be left in the hands of the wrong person.
I think I would say this. I would say two things can be true. I would agree with you that you would have to be I'd be like, listen, everything ain't for everybody. Okay. Lamar had a lot of leverage and he is a quarterback in a quarterback driven league. He can do that. If you're a second string D tackle, I think you might want to get yourself an agent. That's just me personally, right? But at the same time, when you say put yourself in interest, there's a lot of white agents that are doing players wrong. There's a lot of
right.
It's having the right team, right? If that is your mom, if that is your uncle, if that's what you feel is the right team for you,
yeah,
then that be your team. So at the end of the day, I would just say get the right team for you. If that's an agent, if that's a lawyer, if that's a publicist, do what's in the best interest of you. If you feel like you can trust your parents and you can trust your mom, because I'm telling you right now, if my mama's in that room, I'm walking away with 260. Okay, my mama's like that. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no lawyer. It ain't no lawyer better than my mama. Okay, so I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Everybody mama ain't made like that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody mama ain't like that. So
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So it's just I just think you gotta know your team and know the right team and put the right people around you. And I think that's for these young athletes, these young men. That's the most important thing is having the right people around you, having the right team.
All right, the final point on this before we go to our next pause. How does Lamar Jackson go back into that locker room? There's so much bad blood between the Ravens and all that happened over these past couple of months around the situation. His backup quarterback, Tyler Huntley, just signed for $2.5 million.
You know how he goes back in the locker room? Must be the money. That boy coming in there nice. Must be.
Hey, Corinna, I try to set this man up for a very deep advisory moment. And he's gonna tell me he's gonna play must see the money.
Come on, it must be the money. You know, listen, if you watch any NFL player, the number one rule in the locker room is we don't talk about anybody's money because it's all business.
He broke that rule.
No. What I'm saying is that you don't judge anybody for wanting to go get what they feel they're worth because that's their money. Now, you coming back and doing your job, that's completely different than you going to get your money. Once you get your money, come back and do your job. They're going to judge him as the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. And if you don't think Odell wanted Lamar over Tyler Huntley, you are fooling yourself.
Of course not. I get that point. I'm just saying that his O-line and all of the rest of the team and all of the offense, the folks are going to be like, yo, this was crazy. It was contentious. Do you think that they will gel together, be able to get back on the same page, forget, all right, all that has happened, move on, get yourself set and ready for the season?
I don't know how his relationship will be with the coaching staff. I'll tell you that. But with the players, I think the players are going to be all for Lamar because at the end of the day, they know what kind of work ethic. They know who Lamar is when he's on the field. They know who he is when he's in the weight room and everything like that and being the leader of that team. So I don't think the locker room is a problem. How he man, if you were just in negotiation with somebody that was like, you ain't worth that, you going to look at him like, all right, you was just talking about me like I wasn't worth, you know what I'm saying? But all right, I'm gonna do this, you know what I'm saying? But I heard what you said.
Right.
So with the coaching staff, I think there might be a little all right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The players are gonna be fine because they know who Lamar is at the core.
Scotty, my guy, always a pleasure. Check him out on Off Script TV.
Thanks for entertaining us today, Scotty. That was great.
That's what I do. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that boy got Get It is on it. Come on. Hey. That boy on it today.
Look at Farajii's face.
You first got my production team. Then you want to take my contributor?
I'm still here. It was funny.
You better, you know what, Corinne? I think the best thing you should do is kind of just get up on your sports skills and join Off Script TV. All right, Scotty, I appreciate you. My brother, where can we find you, Scotty? How can people see all of your shenanigans?
You can come to YouTube Off Script, where we do this every day, all day, twice on Sundays. You know what I'm saying? You might get baptized. You might get a little word. You might get a little jokey joke. You know what I'm saying? Your boy is
what y'all know about
hey, whoa.
Super.
We in here. We live. It's Friday. I ain't got no job. I ain't got nothing to do.
I might not have a job after this show either. All right, I appreciate you, Scotty.
Talk to me.
Talk to you soon, brother. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, Trends, Post, and Doing the Most. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Woo!
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Let's bring my sister Corinna Denise back into the conversation.
I hope you're not too upset with me. Right?
It's time now for Trends Post and Doing the Most. All right, folks, let's talk about what's trending right now, besides the fact that this might be Corinna's last time on the show. No, it's not your last time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can have these conversations. I can admit when I was like, all right, okay.
I wish I had that sports expertise to back you up, but, you know, that's just not my forte. That's not my thing.
Right. No, it's all good. It's all good. I give you a little humble pie. You know what I'm saying? As a man, Corinna, as a man, you got to admit, you know what I'm saying? When your analysis may not be always on point. Okay. That's all right. You just get the loud pitch voice. That's okay.
Acknowledgement is the first step.
Exactly. All right, let's move on, Corinna. Let's talk about something that people are talking about, which is the fact that Red Table Talks that has been hosted by Jada Pinkett Smith, her daughter, and her mom has now been officially canceled, and they are actually looking for a new platform. Folks, if you did not know this, this is something that it comes out this week as the company of the parent company Meta, who runs Facebook, has decided to nix its original unscripted programming across the board. So it's not just Red Table Talks that it's been canceled. There have been a host of other Facebook Watch shows that have been canceled. And instead, they are gearing towards a more virtual reality programming, which I don't know what that means, Corinna. I'm not sure if they're going to have us watching some, metaverse type shows. I don't know. But Red Table Talk has been a cultural phenomenon on the show, groundbreaking, multi-generational, has had a lot of big conversations. We've actually referenced Red Table Talk a few times on this show. But this is an interesting turn of events. Of course, we know that because of the success of the show, and I don't know how many people are still watching. Do you watch it? Have you watched it lately?
I used to watch Red Table Talk, earlier, but I haven't watched in a while. I'm really on Facebook, so I haven't watched in a long time. So this was very surprising. I mean, I feel like this week alone, the news has been crazy. Something
super big and crazy. Super big and crazy. Also, the other shows that are canceled. Steve Harvey. I did not know this. Steve Harvey actually has a show.
Steve Harvey had a show.
Yeah, he had a show called Steve Harvey, Steve on Watch. Nicole Byers says her show, loosely exactly Nicole. And Shaquille O'Neal's Big Chicken Shack.
And what about didn't Farajii have a show on Facebook Watch? Farajii P. Henson, didn't she have a show on Facebook Watch?
I don't know. I don't know. Here's all I'm gonna say. Let's throw it out there, Corinna. If Jada Pinkett Smith decided, this is my rolling. Jada, if you want to come to Black Star Network to have your platform of a show.
I was thinking that, but I guess
I was thinking that actually.
That call, right? You know what?
Bring the shop to Black Star.
This makes me think what Roland always says, right? The architect of this platform we're streaming on right now, Black-owned media matters. And it's just like, the show is just like kaput, right? I haven't watched in some time, but I mean, I did like the concept of the show. I think she even won some awards for Red Table Talk. So, but it was one thing. Initially, when I saw the article, I thought just Red Table Talk was ending, but then I'm curious. Why are they ending Facebook Watch? Like,
right? Yeah, man, because I was about to say, oh boy, here's some controversy now, but then I saw it across the board, and it's mostly black people. Mostly black shows.
They were like, y'all got to go.
We're about to cut y'all. But no, this is a organizational restructuring decision. This is not about. I mean, this is the way media works, right? So it happens that way. So Red Table Talk is will be canceled, but it's looking for a platform. I will say, I'm gonna throw it out there. It will be interesting if Jada Pinkett Smith and Roland Martin, y'all talk about some stuff to possibly bring in the red table. Can we do that?
Come home.
We can bring the red table. Bring it to Black Star. How like Red Table on Black Star? I'm for it. I would be for it.
Me too.
All right. Final conversation. Something else that's trending right now. And Corinne, I think you will appreciate this. Literal black excellence, folks. If you have not heard, well, of course, we talked a little bit about the great Pele, who is the soccer star who had passed away earlier this year. According to the new report, his name has been added to the Brazilian dictionary, which now means incomparable and unique. Now, this is a new entry into the Portuguese edition of the Michaelis dictionary, recognizing the late soccer's legend impact beyond the sport. The new entry into the dictionary means the one that is extraordinary or who have become of his quality, value, or superiority cannot be matched to anything or anyone just like Pele. So that's according to the reports. But now his name will be a part of the Brazilian vernacular, now the global vernacular of being at the top of your game. So for example, folks, if you use the term Pele, you might say, oh, Corinna Denise is the Pele of contributors for the culture. What you think of that? Isn't that dope? How we can build?
I think that's dope. And I'm going to use the word right now. I think this is a very Pele way to honor Pele himself.
I think so too. It's beautiful to have your culture to be kind of etched into the larger mainstream, right? And I think this is the part about culture that we should all keep in mind. That if the culture, and especially he's talking about good elements, if something good is added to the culture, then that's why I'm using to always say we are the culture. Because people act as if culture is something outside of us or something that, I mean, certainly it can be something that can be created by somebody else. But if we want to see the culture a certain way, then we have to be that certain way.
Right. We cultivate it. We create it. We shape it. We form it.
Right. So I am all for adding certain names. And Pele, of course, of the great work he did on the field and off the field, and just the type of person he is. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing to have him, to his name to be represented as to be incomparable, unique, of highest quality. I mean, that's a great name. I was always told that a good name is better than gold, Corinna. So this means a lot to the culture. All right, folks, those are your trending topics. Make sure y'all stay up on that as we try to stay up on it. And of course, we'll try to bring it to you. Corinna, I appreciate you. It's Friday. I hope you have a great weekend. But I thank you. You did an excellent job in sharing so much great information with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
So I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it. Is there anything that you want to bring to our attention before we close out for the week?
I hope you redeem yourself from that minor,
All right, Corinna, I appreciate your time and effort and everything.
But have a great weekend. Love you guys. Peace, crew.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Corinna Denise, who is an educator, college advisor, and one of our great online culture crew members. Corinna, thank you so much for being so good for the culture.
Thank you, Farajii.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank all of you. Thank my team. I thank my team for colluding against me to make me look silly in front of my audience. I appreciate that. Thank you, King Keenan. I appreciate that. Thank you, Joel. And of course, I want to thank my control room. But more importantly, I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. Folks, make sure you do your due diligence here and go to blackstarnetwork.com if you enjoyed the conversations that we had today. Or if you've enjoyed any part of the conversation this week, make sure you go to Black Star Network, download the app for free, give as we are building this platform. Most importantly, let people know the importance of Black Star Network and follow us on social media. You can follow me, The Real Farajii, on Instagram and Farajii on Twitter. And I love to connect with you. Stay with us. Up next at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Brother Roland Martin, RMU. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk to him on Monday for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.